Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Tech back in the video day, and today the Detroit Pistons and the Minnesota Timberwolves have made a trade. Monte Morris is headed to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think this is a great trade for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Morris, who is himself is not a bad defender at all, and we know how good of a defensive team this Minnesota Timberwolves team are. And I think this is a very solid trade. They need a backup point guard bad. We've heard they were interested in a lot of backup point guards. They were looking at Dennis Schroeder, Monte Morris himself, who they just traded for, Bones Highland, other names on the board that they were looking at. And, Jordan McLaughlin, no disrespect to him, but for a team that wants to compete, you need a better backup point guard. McLaughlin's only averaging like 2.5 points per game. And I just really believe they needed a better backup point guard in order to, I'm not saying that if you didn't get a backup point guard, you weren't going to be successful, but I think this makes them a better team now. Monte Morris has only played 6 games this season, has been, out of that rotation due to, being injured at times, and then also just the Detroit Pistons being terrible. But I'm not going to, go over what he's done this season with the Pistons. I want to go over what he's done as a starting point guard over the last 2 previous seasons with the Washington Wizards and the Denver Nuggets, because he's done a great job the 2 previous seasons with Denver and Washington. And I think that what he did in the 2021-22 season for Denver, stepped up when Jamal Murray was out, was great. And he was even solid for Washington last season. Just had some injuries this year, and also Detroit has been terrible, so they've kept him out of the rotation at times. But he's only played in 6 games this year. He's averaged 5 points per game, which is still very solid, and his minutes per game has only been 11.3. I mean, only playing 11 minutes and still averaging 5 points per game, 2 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game is not bad at all. But let's go over what he's done with Washington and Denver over the last 2 seasons. With Washington, only 27.3 minutes per game. He averaged, first 62 games, 61 game starts. He averaged 10.3 points per game, 5.3 assists per game, 1 steal per game, and his 3-point percentage was 38.2%. Keep in mind, he's a great 3-point shooter. 2021-22 season with the Denver Nuggets, 75 games, 75 starts, 30 minutes per game, 12.6 points per game, 5 assists per game, 1 steal per game, 3 rebounds per game, and his 3-point percentage was the best of his career, 40%. Actually, no, his best of his career was 2018-19 with Denver with 41.4%, but he did still shoot 40%, and that is his best 3-point shooting season outside of the 18-19 season. But I know his percentage was better in the 18-19 season than it was the 21-22 season. But in the 18-19 season with Denver, he only attempted 2.8 3-pointers a game, while in the 21-22 season, he attempted 4.2. But yeah, he was great for Denver in the 21-22 season, was great for Washington in the 22-23 season. I think this is going to be a great addition for Minnesota. Trade details: Troy Brown Jr. and Shake Milton and a 2030 second-round pick are headed to Detroit in this deal. I don't think it's that bad of a deal for Detroit either. I mean, it's not great, but I don't think it's bad at all. We're going to go over what the 2 players that the Pistons are getting have done this season. Shake Milton from the Timberwolves, and also spent most of his career with Philadelphia from the 18-19 season all the way to the 22-23 season. He's played 38 games this season with 13 minutes per game, 4.7 points per game, and 1.3 assists per game. And from 3 this season is shooting a career low 26.4%. Last season shot 38%. And then Troy Brown Jr., I know last year he was with the Lakers, I'm pretty sure. I think he played with 2 teams last year. No, it was just the Lakers last year. But this year with the Timberwolves, 37 games, 3 starts, with Minnesota averaging 11.1 minutes per game, 4.2 points per game, 2 rebounds per game, and from 3, he is shooting 37%. With the Lakers last year, in 76 games with 45 starts, he was averaging 24.5 minutes per game with 7.1 points per game, 4.1 rebounds per game, and 38.1% from 3. He's a good 3-point shooter. He's a small forward, keep in mind, and not a bad addition for Detroit. And then obviously you have the 2030 second round pick that won't be for a while until would be used, but maybe Detroit moves it elsewhere. Who knows? Because Detroit, there are a bunch of other players on their roster that very well could be moved before tomorrow's deadline. Killian Hayes, Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Harris. That's just a couple of names of many that could be moved tomorrow. But let me know your thoughts on the trade in the comment section, and peace out.